And addiction once again. What's up, 23% Nation? This is your man, Coach D. Today, I'm back with the Success Saturday video series, where here we discuss exactly how to be successful while on the 23% challenge meal plan. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to, answer a very important question, and that is, are fat vegans suffering from food addiction? So, maybe they are, maybe they are not. Well, please listen and watch on to find out what the answer truly is. As always, 23% Nation, I have objectives, meaning things that I definitely need to accomplish. Now, for this video, I only have two, I promise. First up is my short-term objective. I like to call it Coach D's tip. Basically, it's a little bit of advice, a little bit of information, a little bit of help from me to you. Now, my second objective is rather long-term, and that is to save 1 million animals. That's right, guys. Coach D is looking to save our fellow Earthlings. So to find out which ones and how we plan to accomplish this, well, please listen and watch on. All right, guys. So today we're answering a very important question, and that is, are fat vegans, unhealthy vegans, obese vegans suffering from food addiction? Now, guys, listen up. Coach D is not here to poke fun. I'm not here to ridicule. I'm not here to be critical, and I'm not here to offend anybody. If anything, my intention is to educate, motivate, and yes, entertain with a smile. All right, so let's dive just a little deeper. First, I want to define what it means to be fat. So guys, what I'm about to expose to you today are three different ways that we can assess how much fat the body is actually carrying. Now, the first way is called BMI. Now that stands for Body Mass Index. And basically, it is a comparison of your height and your weight only. It does not take into consideration your gender or sex. It doesn't even factor in how old you are or how active you are. It's only a comparison of your height and your weight. That's it, plain and simple. So, if you have a BMI that measures 25 to 29.9, then you are considered overweight. If you have a BMI that measures 30 or higher, then you are considered obese. Next up, let's talk about waist circumference. Now, 23% Nation, listen up. When we talk about waist circumference, we're not talking about the size of your pants or the size of your shorts. As a matter of fact, we're talking about taking an actual tape measure, going around the circumference of your waist, particularly at the navel level, and determining how much abdominal fat the human body is actually carrying. Ladies, if your waist circumference measures 35 inches or greater, then unfortunately you are at risk for the big four. Gentlemen, if your waist circumference measures 40 inches or greater, then you also are at risk for the big four. Now, I get it. Some of you are saying, all right, Coach D, what in the world is the big four? Well, guys, when we talk about the big four, really what we're talking about are heart disease, cancer, type 2 diabetes, and yes, obesity. And our third assessment of how much fat the body is carrying is through body fat percentage. Now, basically what this compares is how much of your total body weight is fat, as opposed to muscle, as opposed to bone, and as opposed to organs. Ladies, if you have a body fat percentage of 32% or greater, then you are considered obese. Gentlemen, if your body fat percentage is 26% or greater, then you are also considered obese. Now, here's some great information. Let's say that you don't know your BMI or your waist circumference or your body fat percentage. Guys, it's a-okay. All you have to do is click on the description box. Why? Because I'm providing you with video demonstrations as well as online calculators to help you determine what your body mass index is, your waist circumference is, and also your body fat percentage. So do yourself a favor. Click on the description box, click on those links, and go ahead and determine if you are overweight, obese, or maybe just maybe you're normal. You never know until you actually complete the assessments. So please go ahead and do it. All right, guys, so now that we have determined what fat or how fat is defined, let's now take a look at the word vegan. Now, here's something that you probably are not aware of, is that back in 1949, there was a wonderful woman who founded the Vegan Society. Her name is Leslie Cross. Actually, she was the co-founder. Now, who the other founder or founders are, I have no idea. But today, we're going to focus on what Miss Leslie Cross has to say. Guys, she defined the word vegan as to seek an end to the use of animals by man or woman for food, commodities, work, hunting, vivisection, and by all other uses. Now, hold on a second, because I know that some of you may be thinking, Coach D, what in the world is vivisection? Well, guys, what that simply means is this. It's using animals. That's right, guys. Animals for medical and or scientific research. So that's it. Plain and simple. Now, here's something that we probably don't know, is that initially, when this definition was created back in 1949, it didn't mean or it didn't have anything to do with being skinny, being lean, being slim, or even being healthy. That's right. It was primarily for the animals. That's right, guys. Protecting the animals and, of course, protecting their rights. So, the next time you hear or see anybody label themselves as vegan, please don't automatically assume that the person is healthy, that they're slim, that they're lean. If anything, they could be a vegan simply due to their love of animals, and perhaps they want to protect the environment. So, ladies and gentlemen, now that we've determined what the word fat means and we also determined what the word vegan means, let's now see if in fact fat vegans are suffering from a food addiction. All right, so Coach D, what's the problem? Well, guys, what we're about to uncover is that maybe, just maybe, some, not all, fat vegans are suffering from a food addiction. All right, so how do we know if we are suffering from a food addiction? Well, guys, listen up. It's all about replacing real animal foods with non-animal foods that look, feel, smell, and taste the same as the original. So maybe, just maybe, you are a new vegan, and maybe, just maybe, you just last night decided to become a vegan, right? But once again, you don't really know what to eat, and maybe, just maybe, you're having dreams of steak, shrimp, crab, lobster, and chicken breast, right? And so maybe, just maybe, it's going to be very difficult for you to give up those foods and switch to vegan foods, plant-based foods, right? Well, guys, if you find yourself having to replace the chicken breast, the filet mignon, right, with non-animal foods that look, feel, taste, and smell like the originals, well, yes, chances are you are suffering from a food addiction. But you know what? Let's get some more information about this, shall we? All right. So let's look at a few different criteria. Number one, steak, fried chicken, pork chops, or cheese pizza are replaced with soy burgers, faux meatballs, meat substitute cold cuts, soy chicken nuggets, soy hot dogs, soy mozzarella pizza, and mock duck. Instead of animal fats and proteins, your fuel becomes vegetable oils and isolated soy proteins. Processed vegetable oils replace lard and butter. Glassfuls of cow's milk now become soy milk. Fresh fruit is totally abandoned for dairy-free ice cream and soy yogurt. And also, vegetables remain insignificant side dishes glistening with droplets of oil. So, 23% nation, please listen up. If you find yourself eating a lot of these different products, if you are guilty of anything that's currently on your screen, then yes, unfortunately, you probably are suffering from food addiction. All right, so now that we've semi-answered the question, guys, let's now look at some facts about food addiction. Number one, experiments in animals and humans show that for some people, not all, the same reward and pleasure centers of the brain that are triggered by addictive drugs like cocaine and heroin are also activated by food. Wow, who knew? Especially highly palatable foods. Highly palatable foods are foods that are rich in sugar, fat, and salt. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to explain it my way. You see, guys, our bodies, but specifically our brain, is designed to give us pleasure whenever we carry out certain acts, right? So let's say that maybe you are a business owner and maybe you just close a big deal. Well, believe it or not, your brain will actually produce and release dopamine. And so in that moment when closing that deal, you feel pleasure, right? Or maybe you're a college student and maybe you've been studying really hard for an exam. The exam comes, you do really well. Why? Because you get a 95%. Well, when you look at your score, you automatically feel good. Why? Because your brain synthesizes and it releases dopamine, right? Or maybe, just maybe, you are a mother and you absolutely adore your children. And so every morning before they head out to school, maybe you enjoy giving each one of them a nice big hug, right? Well, believe it or not, when you give them that hug, your brain synthesizes and releases dopamine, so you automatically feel good. So guys, whether you're giving a hug, scoring an A on a test, or closing a big business deal, or in most cases you're eating food, all of these actions signal our brains to reward us with dopamine. That's right, guys. That's why dopamine is considered one of our feel-good hormones, right? So basically, that is what's happening. But in this case, we're talking about food, but specifically foods that are high in fat, high in sugar, and high in salt. Here's more information, a few more facts about food addiction. Like addictive drugs, highly palatable foods trigger feel-good brain chemicals such as dopamine. That's right. Once people experience pleasure associated with increased dopamine transmission in the brain's reward pathway from eating certain foods, they quickly feel the need to eat again. So what does this mean? Well, guys, imagine yourself sitting down in front of your television watching your favorite show, and all of a sudden you get hungry. Maybe you want some potato chips. Maybe you prefer donuts, right? Or how about French fries? Well, chances are you can't eat only one. Why? Because immediately these foods, which are highly palatable, they allow your body to release dopamine. So not only does the food taste good and smell good and look good, but ultimately it makes you feel feel good. That's right. So that's why you want to eat again. More facts. The reward signals from highly palatable foods may override other signals of fullness and satisfaction. As a result, people keep eating even when they are not hungry. Ladies and gentlemen, this is another reason why highly palatable foods are very dangerous. That's right. So even though you know you may be gaining weight, you know you may be getting sick, you may have heart disease, you may have diabetes, you may even have cancer, but you can't quite put the food down. Well, guys, this is part of the reason is because once again, these foods are eliciting a dopamine response. So even though it looks good, but you're becoming fat, you won't stop eating. So these are the facts about food addiction. Here's another fact. It says that compulsive overeating is a type of behavioral addiction, meaning that someone can become preoccupied with a behavior, such as eating or gambling or shopping, that triggers intense pleasure. So again, maybe you're constipated or maybe you have really bad acne. Well, guys, not only is the food causing the constipation and the acne, but ultimately it's giving you a great sense of pleasure. That's right. So even though your body is sending you signals as to what's going wrong with you, you still continue to eat. Why? Because these foods are triggering your reward system. Plain and simple. And last but not least, guys, another fact about food addiction is that people with food addictions lose control over their eating behavior and find themselves spending excessive amounts of time involved with food and overeating or anticipating the emotional effects of compulsive overeating. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, these foods that are high in fat, salt, and sugar, and oil too, I'll throw that in there as well, they allow us to lose control. That's right. Sometimes we become overly preoccupied with feeling good, right? As opposed to doing what's healthy for us. So, ladies and gentlemen, here's what I want to say. If you are obese, if you are overweight, if you are unhealthy, and you look at certain foods, but you just can't quite stop eating them, you can't quite put them down, well, guys, don't get upset. Chances are you're suffering from a food addiction like most people, myself included, right? So here's what you have to understand is that it's not necessarily a lack of willpower. It's just that these foods are very, very powerful. They're very, very addictive. Why? Because they cause your brain to release dopamine. And every time your body synthesizes and releases dopamine, you get a feeling of pleasure. That's right. So that's why when you sit down in front of your TV, or maybe you're at a family gathering and you're eating all these highly palatable foods, well, you may not want to, but ultimately you give in. Why? Because it makes you feel good. So there you have it, guys. Lots and lots of facts about food addiction. All right. Now, let's look at 8 signs of food addiction, because maybe based on the previous slide, maybe you don't know if you have a food addiction or not. Well, guys, let's look at the signs and find out. Number 1, you end up eating more than planned when you start eating certain foods. Number 2, you keep eating certain foods even if you're no longer hungry. Number 3, you eat to the point of feeling ill. Number 4, you worry about not eating certain types of foods or worry about cutting down on certain types of foods. Notice that the word worry is bold and in red. Guys, here's what I like to say about worrying, is that when you worry about anything, food, sex, love, relationships, health, right? Then technically, and this is in my opinion, you are simply praying for what you don't want. Here's our 5th sign, is that when certain foods are not available, you go out of your way to obtain them. That's right. So sometimes you may have to get in your car and make a drive to the store. Or maybe, just maybe, you want to lay in your bed or sit on your couch and dial up DoorDash or Uber Eats. Here's our sixth sign, is that you eat certain foods so often or in such large amounts that you start eating food instead of working, spending time with the family, or doing recreational activities. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are at this point, then yes, you probably are suffering from a food addiction. Number 7, you avoid professional or social situations where certain foods are available because of the fear of overeating. And our last sign of food addiction is you have problems functioning effectively at your job or school because of food and eating. Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't quite caught on, having a food addiction is basically as serious as, let's say, an alcohol addiction or a drug addiction or a gambling addiction or even a sex addiction. All right, so now that we've talked about what a food addiction is, we've looked at the signs. Now, guys, let's talk about solutions, shall we? All right, I'm going to give you 10 solutions that I believe can help us get beyond or maybe even manage our current food addictions. So number 1, you can replace faux meat burgers for bean and grain burgers. Number 2, add a little bit of brown rice to your bean chili instead of fake meat. Number 3, how about you eat oatmeal for breakfast rather than greasy vegan sausages and breakfast links? Number 4, you can start to replace olive oil with low-fat salad dressings. Number 5, how about we leave the soy cheese off of the whole wheat pizza? Number 6, how about we replace oils and baking with fat replacers like prune puree or applesauce? Next, we could leave the oils out of the recipe whenever possible. Next up, we could have fruits for dessert. And also we can minimize the use of all processed plant foods, such as white sugar, white flour, white pasta, and definitely white bread. And my last possible solution is maybe, just maybe, you need professional help. So if you do, I highly recommend you check out Food Addicts Anonymous. Now guys, don't worry, don't fret. Please click on the description box. Why? Because I am providing you with a direct link to Food Addicts Anonymous. So if you think you have a food addiction, or maybe you've heard someone say that you've had a food addiction, you may just want to click on that link or give them a call and check out the website. All right, now we're going to transition to Coach D's second objective, which is my long-term objective, which means I want to save 1 million animals. That's right, guys. Coach D is looking to save our furry ones. Now, here's something that's really, really cool, is that recently I came across an amazing website. It happens to be called vegancalculator.com. I'll say it once again. It's vegancalculator.com. Here's what they have to say. They say that eating a 100% plant-based diet for 7 days saves 7 animals. What? That's right. Eating 100% plant-based for 7 days saves 7 animals. Wow, how amazing is that? Now, a lot of you may be wondering, all right, Coach D, I get it. Vegan Calculator says that if I eat a whole food plant-based diet for 7 days, I'll save 7 animals. But the question is, what kind of animals will I be saving? Well, let's talk about it. The first type of animal that we're trying to save are those animals that are eaten as food. So yes, we're talking about shrimp, crab, lobster, the regular farm animals, your pigs, your chickens, your cows, your lambs, your bunnies, the goats, right? Now, the second type of animal that I'm looking to save are those animals whose natural habitats are destroyed due to the standard American diet. Yes. Recently, I came across a very important movie. It's called Cowspiracy. In this movie, they basically talk about how detrimental animal agriculture is to planet Earth. As a matter of fact, the movie reports that animal agriculture is the biggest contributor to deforestation, desertification, water pollution, air pollution, species extinction, and also ocean dead zones. That's right. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to save more animals like Coach D, then all you have to do for 7 days is eat more plants. That's it, plain and simple. 23% nation, obese vegans, unhealthy vegans, fat vegans, I need your help. As a matter of fact, I need help to the tune of 145,000 people to join in on the 23% challenge meal plan. That's right. Now remember something. It's not difficult. As a matter of fact, it's very, very easy. It's only 7 days. It's the first 7 days of every single month. The 1st through the 7th. That's it, guys. Plain and simple. Now, some of you may say, all right, Coach D, thanks to this video, I realize I have a food addiction. Thanks to this video, I now realize that I know I need to reduce my meat and processed food consumption. And yes, I need to eat more plants. And guess what? I also love animals. So you know what? I want to help. Well, guys, if you want to help, if you want to become one of the 145,000 people that I need in order to accomplish my second objective, then here's what you need to know, is that I've actually teamed up with Fiverr.com. That's right, guys, it's Fiverr.com. And on there, I have my own gig. That's right. It is entitled, I will create a 7-day plant-based vegan meal plan specifically for you. Now, here is what you don't know, is that my meal plan is unlike anyone else's, meaning it's going to give you a nutrition report. Basically, I'm going to let you know how many calories you're consuming. I'm also going to give you the grams of carbs, fats, proteins, and we're also going to talk more about fiber and cholesterol and all that good stuff. Plus, it comes with a health assessment and, are you ready for this? A workout plan. That's right, guys, a workout plan. Now, ultimately, it depends on you. If you want to do the vegan lean or the vegan bulk, the workout plan as well as the meal plan is customized to your liking. That's right. So when it comes to the foods, don't worry about it. You're only going to select foods that you already know, the foods you already eat, and the foods you already love. So that's it, guys. Plain and simple. Click on the link, go to the link, make the purchase, and let's go ahead and get things started in the right direction, of course. Guys, it's time for our question of the day, and this comes from yours truly and the rest of the 23% nation. We want to know, are fat vegans suffering from food addiction? Now, I believe I've already answered that question, so please write your response in the comment box below. Guys, I want to thank you for watching. I definitely want to thank you for listening. As always, let's eat well, feel well, think well, do well, be well. Now, before I leave, I gotta ask you to please use our 3-word mantra. It's hashtag eat more plants. As stated earlier, my name is Coach D. I'm signing out. Always remember to take care, God bless, and never ever forget that Coach D loves you.